Good morning, everybody. Sorry I was a little bit late here. Getting ready to go do my lawyer workout. So I'm starting out with my methylene blue. This helps a little bit with your sciatica and back problems and stuff. Let me just get some water. I'm going to throw it in my backpack and then we'll go for a little lawyer workout walk. Highly unlikely I'll see anybody this morning. I think even you people back east are still asleep, but I'm a practicing attorney in California and Texas. And this is the only time I've been able to go live today. So I'm going to do a little bit of a workout. I'm going to go for about a 2 mile walk on an incline. So I'll be breathing heavy because I'm going on an incline, about a 15% grade. And I'll stop over at the park, do some pull-ups and some push-ups and show you what a man is supposed to do if he wants to try and have a full-time living and still be able to work out. So just give me a second. So this is what your methylene blue is going to look like. Hey, Oven Burn, good seeing you, man. I love it. Oven Burn. Yeah, we should take the whole entire Federal Reserve banking system and put it in an oven. Don't you agree? People like that belong in camps, don't they? So, anyways, there you go. All right. So, let me go ahead and square this away so when my wife wakes up, she doesn't have a heart attack that I left stuff out on the counter. Give me 1 second. And let me just share something with you. So, another thing you might want to consider is some quercetin. You always want to take your MK7 and your vitamin D. I'm not endorsing any particular products, just telling you that this is, for me, just had a birthday the other day. I'm embarrassed to even say how old I am because it's, you know, that much less time I have to make sure that my children aren't brainwashed by the Marxist run education system and won't have my guiding hand looking over them. So, another reason for you men to get out and exercise and do everything you can to stay alive as long as you can, because your children are the future. Make no mistake about it. Homeschool your kids, get them out of the public school system. It's pure satanic, Luciferian evil. And I'm not saying that public school teachers are evil, but the teachers' unions, the school system itself, I mean, they have an agenda and it's not the best interest of your kids. Anybody who tries to tell a little boy that he's really born in the wrong body or put men in female sports where they're beating the crap out of your daughters, those are evil people. They don't deserve to have anything to do or be around children. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. All right, just give me 1 second. Let me get squared away, guys. Hold on. All right, so before we get started, this morning we're going to talk a little bit about the consumer price index. Yeah, okay, by the way, background, let me lay a foundation. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and Texas. Well, I'm a member of the bar in California and Texas because remember, you can't have a license to practice law, right? For all you patriots. And I became a lawyer on the law study program in California. And I am the only lawyer in the history of my law school to graduate a law school while already being a practicing sworn attorney. So I went into law school after I was already on the law study program at night, and I had a full-time job as a paralegal. And prior to that, I slept on park benches and worked at a Home Depot at night so I could fulfill my dream of becoming a lawyer with no law degree. And that was all. The precursor of that was breaking up with this girl that I really dug and going through a lot of problems and a lot of hell, depression. and realize that, the only way you're going to get what you want in life, Mike, is to make a huge sacrifice and just go for it. So I sold my limousine business and started my journey to becoming a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. And you can do the same thing. And you don't need to go to a Marxist run college and get your mind destroyed by these leftist blue-haired mafioso teachers and these teachers unions that destroy people's minds and brainwash them into thinking that the Federal Reserve banking system is a good thing, that Keynesian economics makes sense. People have been brainwashed in this country to think unless you have a degree from Harvard or Princeton, and then you see these DEI hire professors who can't even speak English, right? They like, hey, what you saying? I'm gonna ask you a question. And you're like, wait, you're a professor and you're saying, ask me a question. So it's like, come on, guys. Do you really want to send your kids to a brainwashed education re-education camp like that? Um, and by the way, guys, I know a lot of you guys are saying, why is this guy wearing his cover indoors? Well, because I'm in Nevada and I'm under arms, so I'm allowed to wear my cover. And besides that, I'm a freaking civilian now. But let's go ahead and let's get the show on the road. And oh, thanks, Digital Bip. You look like a Marxist commie who should probably go back to romper room. All right, so let's go ahead and start the show. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do about a 2-mile walk this morning. And let's get the show on the road. All right, so you can see it's pretty dark outside still, but hopefully you guys can see me enough to where it makes sense. All right. Now, I want to thank everybody for joining me this morning. So, one of the things that I learned from having a father who was a Marine and from also being a Marine myself is that discipline equals freedom. Discipline equals freedom. So, that's the first lesson of this morning. Thanks, Digital Bip. So, hopefully, you guys give me some 5x5s. Give me some 5x5s that you can hear me because I'm in a drop zone. Uh, yeah, and I don't know what a Trump or a race hater is. There's a lot of things that I support about Donald Trump, and I believe in the human race. I believe in the human race, just like Trump does. And there's a lot of things that I really do appreciate about Donald Trump, and one of them is that we have a mutual enemy, and that is the private, secret Federal Reserve banking system. Remember, Charles Lindbergh Sr. said that it was the greatest crime ever perpetrated on our country was the Federal Reserve banking system, and that it would be a shadow, basically a shadow government. And that is what happened. And you know that the Federal Reserve banking system has a lot of power because as soon as I started talking about the Federal Reserve banking system and how it should be abolished on my channel, within days, the Marxist run social media platform that many of you are watching right now demonetized my channel. And whenever I talked about big pharma and side effects, I would get censorship warnings from these same people. We know that Google has a partnership with the World Health Organization, and you're not allowed to say anything that goes against their narrative, even though hundreds of thousands of scientists and doctors have come out and disagreed with the WHO. They're considered to be tinfoil hatters because the people who control the media and the messaging are able to control the minds of the American people. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So, and as far as Digital Bip goes, didn't mean to hurt your feelings, Digital, if you're still there. Um, I have a real problem with both political parties. I'm a libertarian, so there's a lot of things that I align with respect to Mr. Trump, and a lot of things that I don't. I would align more with a Ron Paul or a Rand Paul. I'm a libertarian, so I believe the less government means more freedom. Now, one of the things that I do agree with Donald Trump about, I guess if you were going to classify me as anything, I would align more with the John Birch Society. And for those of you who don't know who John Birch really was, because you've been brainwashed at a public university, is that John Birch was a chaplain. I believe he was a captain, and he was over in China. And so Chiang Kai-shek was the opposition leader against the Maoists, the communists. And Birch ended up running into Mao Zedong, and he was shot in the leg and killed by Mao Zedong. And that's the real story of the John Birch Society and how it came into existence. Yeah, so and that's what we're here to talk about is crypto and what's going on. So guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I got up early today. Oh, and by the way, guys, please make sure to join my channel over at Rumble. Don't even waste your time on these Marxist run social media platforms. Get over somewhere where you can have free speech, where you're not in constant fear. See, the way that the shadow government gets control over your mind is to get control over your pocketbook. All right. Now, lucky for me, I have a law firm and I've been in practice for over 20 years and I'm heavily invested in gold and silver. But a lot of you guys, you content creators, are totally dependent on, for example, a platform like TikTok or a platform like YouTube. And because of that, you're at the mercy of highly politicized, basically far left social media censorship. And if you say anything that goes against what Wikipedia has falsely reported, you are automatically going to be censored, and you'll get warnings saying that your channel is going to be demonetized because we feel that you may have been engaged in misinformation or disinformation. You could literally read the side effects off the side of a certain injection and have your channel demonetized for medical misinformation. That's how much power these big advertisers, well, for example, Pfizer. Remember the last Grammys? I mean, this is sponsored by Pfizer. They've got all these stupid kids brainwashed in the public school system thinking that Pfizer's these great people. One of the largest multi-billion-dollar criminal fines ever in the history of the United States was awarded against Pfizer, and that's even with their control over our shadow government for lying and committing fraud. And these are the same people that give billions of dollars in advertising money and political campaign funding donations. They're exempt from negligence law. They're exempt from being sued for negligence. Are you kidding me? And these are the same people that control the narrative. So one of the things that I want to recommend that you guys do is join me over at Rumble, as well as join me over at Patreon. And so I think you can still give me super chats here on this channel. If you want to donate to the channel, you can still buy a copy of my book about how to become a lawyer with no undergrad or law degree over at, go to my description and you can click on the PayPal link. It's $19.99. And I talk about the history of the law office study program, about how all lawyers became lawyers like I did until the creation of government-run schools. And we know that government-run schools are a way for them to control your mind. Most of our colleges and universities were originally Christian, and now they've been completely co-opted by Marxists who hate our country and DEI professors who hate America, and they brainwash your children to hate America and our founding fathers. And it's just one more step. Once they hate your founding fathers, it's easy to justify abolishing the Bill of Rights and natural law. And so just to lay the foundation, my show is about the battle of natural law versus Marxism. That's basically what it boils down to. Marxism is an atheistic belief system that does not believe that the wages of sin is death, that there is no creator, and that all rights flow from the government, not the people, the government. Because democracy basically is, if you can get 51%, if you can brainwash enough of them in a school, you can get them to vote away the rights of their neighbor. And that's why our Constitution binds the government by the chains of the Constitution. So let's get into what happened here with the Federal Reserve. There's so many things I want to talk about. Unfortunately, it's still freaking doggone dark out here. Stellar lumens, yeah. Stellar lumens is actually taking off a little bit. You know, I had bought a bunch of Litecoin the other day because a medical company had bought, like, I guess they committed to buy $500 million in Litecoin or whatever. And Litecoin is basically like a miniature version of Bitcoin, right? But I decided I would sell after the CPI came out. And so the consumer price index is an interesting thing. And so it came in at 27. I think that anything under 28 or 2.8, I can't remember the specific numbers. I'm a lawyer, guys, so I'm not an economist. I believe that the whole economic system that we have is illegal. A private Federal Reserve banking system run by mobster bankers is illegal. And so those of you who went to colleges think, oh, this guy's a tinfoil hatter. He doesn't understand our glorious economic system, right? Because that's what they teach you in the school system. Yeah, well, oven burn, don't worry about GDX. It's backed by primarily, if you look at GDX, it's backed primarily by government bonds. So I would get off GDX if it was me. And by the way, I don't give financial or legal advice here. If you want to hire me as your lawyer, the only way that anything that I say could be construed as legal advice is to have a signed, paid for, and written retainer with me. And we could go from there. But GDX, based on my understanding, is backed by, I think, US Treasury and bonds, primarily like 90%. So, yeah, short term it might be all right. Same with GLD. They have a rehypothecation, quasi rehypothecation, which I disagree with. So, I am a believer in gold royalties. So, Royal Gold, um, Franco Nevada Corporation, I think it's FNC, SILV, I believe, a couple other ones. But yeah, precious metals. So, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute. No one likes to be objective. Boy, that's for sure, brother. That's so rail, snick, sick cuffs, nas says no one likes to be objective. Yeah, check it out. Like if you're on like if you're on E-Trader, you can look at or E-Trade, you can look at the actual down on the lower right. It tells you like how the company is funded, what their major investments are. Yeah, so GDX is not one that I would recommend. I was in it for a while. But yeah, like Royal Gold is a good one. Groy is a good one, Gold Royalty. So, but we'll talk about it in a minute. I don't want to get too far off the beaten path. And by the way, I want to thank everyone for joining me at Dark 30 today. I'm a lawyer and I'm working on a couple of appellate briefs right now. I do Second Amendment rights, do a little bit then to make money, because you can't make money doing gun rights. You can't make money involving civil rights. Another interesting thing, and it's not money, it's Federal Reserve notes, but it's interesting the way the system is so rigged that people who fight for individual rights and freedom are basically demonetized, just like people who talk about it on platforms like YouTube. So it's just something that is sort of ironic to me. All right. So we'll set up over here. All right. So this is One of the things that I believe in is a holistic living system. Good seeing you, Salt Shaker. Ooh, raw. So the first thing we're going to do is some light stretching, and then we'll get into the show. I've got about a 2-mile walk ahead of me. And I know you guys probably can't see me, but I do a lot of yoga style stretching, but it's really from judo because my background is judo and Muay Thai. So hopefully you old codgers who think that you have to give up on life and let your body go, no, don't do that. There's people out here who care about you. Stay in shape. All right, so if you want to get your stretching in, you always want to be well stretched before you do any kind of calisthenics or resistance training. Notice I'm the only person out. And you can thank the United States Marine Corps for the value system that I hold. That's another thing that makes me a lot different than most lawyers you're going to run into is I wasn't brainwashed in the Marxist run education system. I am a self-educated man. Spent most of my time in libraries as a young lad, the product of divorced parents. All right, so now I haven't done a whole lot of physical stuff lately. I have really bad sciatica. And so I'm going to do my best to do some back exercises for you really quick. I know you're not going to be able to see much, but there's a pull-up bar right there. So I'll try to get it going here. Yeah, well, it's not. Yeah, you're right. Financial system. In other words, financing debt after debt. And we're going to get into the CPI again in a minute. Let's just get a little workout in real quick. All right. Oh, oh, jeez. Oh, man. I don't know if you guys saw that, but let me stretch my belly. One thing about pull-ups is if you're doing them right, they work your abs too. Oh, that was tight. That was tight. All right. So I got six. And they were dead hang. And guys, I'm old, so I'm stronger than most guys that are in their 20s, and I'm an old guy. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some push-ups. If anybody wants to throw me a super chat, I'll do more than 10. How's that? I'm just kidding. I'll do more than 10 anyways, because I don't do this for money. I do this because I care about your kids and our future as Americans. And I want to teach you guys not to let your bodies go. Take care of yourselves. There's no excuse. You can get up early. You can work out. You can take cat naps, all right? Give me a bunch of ones if you understand what I'm saying, guys. All right, so let's crank out some push-ups. Let's do it. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. I don't want to overdo it because I haven't trained in about a week and a half. Other than doing legs last weekend, I did legs at Powerhouse Gym, but damn, that kicked my ass. I mean, when you guys don't train and you eat the wrong food, it just wipes you out. All right. All right, let's get some water. You always want to have your methylene blue. Your methylene blue really helps, guys. Stuff is no joke. So you always want to bring some methylene blue with you. Oh, gosh. That was deadly. That was deadly. All right. So this isn't a major workout. So what this is, guys, is when you first start working out again, stand by. After a hiatus, you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overdo it, all right? When you first start working out again, you don't want to overdo it. You want to start slow because you're going to get the lactic acid buildup and you're going to get so sore you don't want to go back. And so you don't want to punish yourself to the point where you can't work out again for another week. It works, man. Oven burn, it works. So, absolutely. Woo. So you see, I just did 6 pull-ups, dead hang, and 20 push-ups. That was it, because I'm not looking to kill myself, but I got a nice stretch in, did my standard judo, katagame style stretching, feel good, I'm breathing heavy, and now I'm going to walk on about 1.5 miles incline back to the casa. And we're going to talk now. By the way, this is a park here. Beautiful, right? Gorgeous, isn't it? All right. And again, I appreciate y'all joining me this morning. I know I'm not going to get thousands of viewers. My channel constantly gets shadow banned and suppressed by the blue-haired mafia over at these social media channels. So let's get into it. So let's talk about what is inflation, because the communist-run school system and the so-called economists want to say that inflation is because of tariffs. It's Trump. He's so evil. He wants to force our trading partners to pay duties and tariffs on the things that they send us. And your prices are going to go up if there's tariffs, right? So let me tell you something about the hypocrisy of these assholes who say stuff like that. So as soon as Pocahontas or any of these commie scumbags that make millions off the stock market like Nancy Pelosi get wind that the American people want to pay less taxes, or that we should abolish the income tax, what do they say? No, if I was in DC, I would be beat up like big balls, because anybody who doesn't support the Marxist run system, they get beat up. The Democrats, Sturmabteilung, or Antifa, will chase you down with their DEI mafia and try to hurt you. Another reason why you want to live in a free state, so at least you can open carry or conceal carry, like maybe Nevada or Texas. But that's another story for another day. So as soon as the American people say we want a tax cut, the very first thing Pocahontas will say, oh, you want to give a tax cut to the billionaires. You want to help billionaires. Billionaires are evil. The same people who fund our political campaigns, they're evil. All right. They don't say, well, if you raise taxes on Denny's restaurant, that your prices will go up. But if Trump wants to charge a tariff on foreign goods, they immediately say, oh, your prices are going to go up. That's going to cause inflation. Well, that's so you can see the hypocrisy of these people. And they're counting on low information voters. And the way they get them is to get your children in a public school system. For example, in California and I believe Oregon, they are outlawing or have outlawed in some districts math and English because it's racist. That's how stupid these people are, because they want your kids to be stupid. And they reinforce it with their commie news commentators, CBS, CNN, PMS, NBC. I mean, you name it. They're all the same. They're all controlled by the same people. And Johnny's right. It is all about the seats. And that's why Biden flooded our country with 20 million illegal aliens. They don't have to vote. Of course, if you went to public school, you're just clueless. But The way it works is we have something called reapportionment. And when there's a census, stand by, I'm breathing a little heavy, guys. I'm walking on this 15% grade right now. I don't know if you can see it, but it's kicking my ass and I walk fast. Okay, so the way it works is the Democrats would lose 5 seats in California right now if they got rid of sanctuary cities and allowed ICE to deport these illegals. Democrat politicians don't care about Mexicans or Central Americans. Of course not. They care about reapportionment. And so with illegal aliens, that's the only way they're going to be able to stay in power is they'll pick up congressional seats. And that's what reapportionment's all. That's what the census is used for by the Democrats. So Trump, to fight that, has ordered a new census recount counting only U.S. citizens for purposes of reapportionment. And so when that happens, the Democrats will lose about 50, count them, 50 House seats. So that's what that battle's all about. That's the game, Johnny. You're right, brother. So, but you know, you guys that went to the college system, you are just so, you've been indoctrinated in Marxism. So it's really hard to be able to explain any of this stuff to you in a cogent manner that makes sense. Okay, so let's get back into it. So they'll say, oh, well, Mr. Trump is going to create inflation with these tariffs. Let's go back to Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson abolished our federal banks, our centralized bank. And for the first time in history, since the founding of the nation, when one of our Revolutionary War patriots paid off our national debt, you know, war debt from France and whatnot, under Andrew Jackson, we had freedom again. We were no longer bound by the European banksters. The Bank of England in particular, in the War of 1812. Do your research. Don't use Wikipedia. Do your own independent research, and you'll see what that war was really about. But anyways, Jackson abolished federal debt, got rid of it, got rid of the central banks. Now, there was a 4-year period where the economy had to reset, obviously. So there was a depression. But after that 4 years, prices were 80% less on property. You could buy a home. You could afford things because debt slavery and usury, banned by the Magna Carta, by the way, which is one of our founding documents, believe it or not, under American common law, we inherited the English common law system, except we're abrogated by the Bill of Rights in American common law. And we'll talk about that in another show. So, and that's right, Johnny. If tariffs didn't work, then every country would have them on us. Well, they do. And the way they do that is they devalue their currency to keep the American dollar strong because it is the world's reserve currency. So other countries have been abusing this system. And, you know, we know that China was bringing in suitcases full of gold and cash for the Clintons, that the Clintons sold us out to the communist Chinese, and that the Democrat Party, as well as the Canadian Liberal Party, are basically vassals of communist China. Because when you don't believe in God, you don't believe that the wages of sin is death, it's easy to sell out your countrymen for money. And they call that treason, by the way. We'll talk about that in another show as well. But in any event, inflation isn't caused by tariffs, okay? We are trillions of dollars in debt. And who are we in debt to? The same people that print our currency out of nothing. So it all started with the Federal Reserve banking system. And in essence, they have a printing machine. And these bankers create money. When that's not money, it's Federal Reserve notes or notes of debt. And they send it, it's called fiat. And they send it to private banks. And then private banks lend it to you at 6% or 12% interest, for example. And that's the game. And then in order for the banks and for our country, and then we'll borrow money from like communist China, right?
I mean, unbelievable that we're borrowing money from someone who wants to destroy us. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So we'll borrow that same currency from communist China, and they'll buy like treasury bills, for example. They'll buy our debt. And so the way that the Federal Reserve banks try and reduce the national debt is to inflate prices. So let's say $1 yesterday would buy you a car, $1 tomorrow will buy you a plastic straw. And so that's how they pay down the loan. So it's all a scam, basically. And our Constitution and all state constitutions require currency. That's right. States have the right to create their own currency, believe it or not. Have to be based on gold or silver, something backed by intrinsic value. So what's going on, guys, is we have a situation now under Donald Trump where he's looked at history and he understands what happened because he's a victim as well as an abuser of the Federal Reserve privately run banking system. And anyone who's a businessman doesn't believe in fiat currency. Let's just get down to the bottom line. The only people who believe in fiat currency are foreign bankers, small little foreign countries that run our banks, or one in particular that has total control over our banks. The way they stay in power, have politicians. That's just the way it works. Said it best, a den of vipers. So thanks, Johnny. Well, it takes not going to a anti-American Marxist education system to really know history. So let's get into it. So inflation, contrary to what people who have been brainwashed to think, is not caused by tariffs. Inflation is caused by devaluing, by inflating, by printing money. It causes prices to go up because the more money you print, the less valuable it is. And that is what this show is about today. It's about ETH and cryptocurrency and gold and silver. So let's take a look at what happened. So the consumer price, oh, by the way, here's another way we know that the Fed is all in for the Marxist left. Under Sleepy Joe, interest rates were at, strike that, inflation was at 9%. 9%. And Powell gave Biden two rate cuts. Two rate cuts. So I just want to show you how biased to the left the entire system is. The communist Chinese secret hand that now controls our financial system. Trump, inflation was 0.1%, 2.6, give or take. Strike that. Not in, yeah. Yes, inflation. That's correct. And Powell refused to give Trump rate cuts. We know from a James O'Keefe video, one of the chief economists over at the Federal Reserve Bank admitted, being recorded, Trump to fail. He doesn't believe in the tariff system. He wants people to be dependent on the Federal Reserve note. And it's a decentralized platform, right? Getting involved in crypto because they want to restock is 1,000,000%, in my opinion, a Mossad-controlled organization. That's what I think. I believe that they do not want the American people to have economic freedom. I do believe that. So what I think is going on, guys, is we have a situation now where we basically have another Andrew Jackson. And what happened to Andrew Jackson? They tried to assassinate him, right? Think about that. Think about the historical similarities between what's going on. But the difference is now is our press is primarily controlled by people that hate America and hate the American people. And if you say anything bad about any of the Democrats, you're automatically a racist, bigot, homophobe. Republicans are just as bad. I mean, it's a two-party controlled opposition system. Fox is no better. All right, that's why you go to my channel. So what does the rate cut do? Well, the rate cut gives confidence to people in the markets who are buying crypto, for example, to buy more, and it injects what they call liquidity into the economy. So you'll notice that because the CPI came in at 2.7, I believe it was yesterday, that my gold stocks have already gone up exponentially. I mean, outrageous. So I'm so glad that I invested in WPM, FNV, Royal Gold, and GROY, gold royalties, as well as a lot of silver. Now, a lot of people say, but Mike, you're only supposed to have, the 70-10 rule or whatever, like only 10% of your stock should be in precious metals. All my stocks are either in some kind of precious metal or a crypto ETF that are in my SEP, and the rest are all, in another account that's a non-SEP, that are all basically just like Bitcoin or Ethereum. So let's talk about it. Yeah, that's right. The rate cut is political. Now, give me some 5x5s because I'm in a traditional drop zone. I need to know you guys can hear me. Sometimes I get cut off. So I just need to make sure you guys can hear what I'm saying. Let's talk about it. Hopefully you guys can hear me still. Give me some 5x5s. Yeah, Zimbabwe is a perfect example of what they're trying to do with the digital currency. So a government-controlled digital currency is always bad. We know that Google helped the communist Chinese create their surveillance state. We know that Palantir is trying to do the same thing here. And that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene, good. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Cop Dog. Thanks, Up and Burn. So Marjorie Taylor Greene stepped in and said, we're not going to vote for the Clarity Act and the Genius Act, et cetera, until you can prove to us that these stable coins and whatnot aren't going to be run by these communist anti-American pigs over at the Federal Reserve Bank. Because we do not want to turn our country, which has a Fourth Amendment, and it has all these things that the Democrats hate, to protect us from the government, because they want us to be like Canada, where if you refuse to take their shot or you refuse to engage, you refuse to restrict your speech, they demonetize you, just like YouTube does. So she held out, and we got that language removed from the bill. But all it takes is another Democrat-run administration to undo all that. So we just talked about how Trump is going to do a census recount, not counting illegals. And that will cause the Democrats to lose about 55 House seats. So the bankers are going to lose their control over this country almost overnight if that happens. So that's a good thing, because we don't believe in bankers controlling our destiny. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening right now. Now, it's a little confusing, and I'm going to try to clear some things up. Sure, your Bitcoin is now worth 122,000 or whatever it was last night. Your Ethereum, I think, broke historical all-time highs last night. I think it's well over 5,600 a coin now, if I'm not mistaken, or 4,600. And that's a wonderful thing. That is a wonderful thing. But here's the problem. It's based upon a deflated currency. So when you say my Bitcoin's worth $1 million, well, what is $1 million? It's fiat. So the only real money is gold or silver. And the reason it keeps going up in value is because the dollar keeps going down in value. And that is one of the reasons the Trump administration wants to basically devalue our currency so we can do what our trading partners have been doing to us. They devalue their currency. And ultimately, if the income tax system is abolished, which it should be, the government has no business knowing how much money you earn. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. And when I say money, I mean fiat currency. It's interchangeable, unfortunately, under this system. So these gains, these gains that you think you're getting are based on devalued fiat currency. And the markets are inflated right now. So don't think that you have all this stuff, all right? If you don't have your money in a SEP or a Roth, because you were forced to put it there so you would pay less income taxes, I think one of the best investments that you can make is gold and silver, because it has intrinsic value, all right? Ethereum is the platform that Tom Lee pushes. And Tom Lee is a great marketer. I love Tom Lee. I just think he's like the Asian Michael Saylor. He's really great. And I don't know if you guys know who Tom Lee is, but take a look at BMNR. That's that's right. That's right. Sud Hans Shu 7115. Trump said you will get tired of winning. Well, I'm not tired of winning right now. I mean, I'm so excited. I got up so early to work out to share this stuff with you. I'm really excited about the markets today. I think what's going to happen is we're going to get that rate cut, and that Tom Lee is going to take Bitminer, BMNR, to new highs. So I basically have been pulling all of my ETFs and everything out of Bitcoin and dumping it into Ethereum ETFs. Unfortunately, if you can't, since the government forces you to put your stuff into a SEP or a Roth to offset taxes, I'm kind of stuck in that system. So I'm a day trader, and what I'm seeing is outrageous gains. I mean, I've made in fiat probably 100,000 in the last couple of days. Just watching the markets, buying at the dip, selling at the high. Volatility is your friend, guys. So what I would definitely look at is altcoins like Solana, HBAR, and then if you're not, like I'm trying to get at, if you're not in a Roth or a SEP, or if you live offshore like Puerto Rico where you can avoid a lot of these taxes, take that money and buy as much gold and physical silver as you can get your hands on. Because I believe if Trump is able to get rid of illegal alien census redistricting at the midterms, the Democrats are going to lose even more. And as a result of that, we may be able to abolish the privately run, secret, illegal, unconstitutional Federal Reserve banking system. We're at a position in our history where if we don't start mimicking the BRICS economies of China, Russia, India, Pakistan, et cetera, the people who hate us, right? In other words, if we don't start doing what our founding fathers required us to do under our Constitution, this country is going down the tubes, which I believe is what the globalists like Soros and Bill Gates want, right? Because if they can't control our minds and bodies, they might as well destroy us, right? That these people are evil, in my opinion. So, um, why are you confident in gold? You're not? Well, you're a newbie. Well, I'm confident in gold because gold is the only traditional store of value that we have. And like it or not, Bitcoin and Ethereum are risk on assets. And because we know the left, like Pocahontas and the Federal Reserve banking system, hate crypto, and it is a risk on asset, we're always one election away from losing all of our gains in crypto. But gold and silver, if you physically hold it, that can save you. And that's why China and these other countries are buying it like crazy, like gangbusters. That's why we're buying it like gangbusters. The American government is secretly as well as non-secretly importing as much gold back into the US as they can. Because I think everybody realizes that the fiat currency system was a scam. It was passed basically in the middle of night on a Christmas when most of the congressmen and senators were gone, and has been used to illegally control the lives of the American people, and it needs to be abolished. And again, like I said, Powell passed interest rate cuts for Sleepy Joe when inflation was at 9%. It's at 2% under Trump, and all you hear about under the far left controlled media is how we have this terrible inflation under Trump. It's these tariffs, blah, blah, blah. He's so evil. He's so terrible. And then, of course, Powell refusing to reduce interest rates. So we know that it's all political. And that's another reason why it needs to end. We should not have private bankers who are all in the tank for the globalist DEI and all this bullshit that destroys the minds of our children. We know that the teachers union, NEA, has formed an alliance with the World Economic Forum. You know, the guys who say you'll own nothing and be happy. These are the people brainwashing your kids, guys. You'll own nothing and be happy? Go fuck yourselves, teachers unions. You guys are idiots. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So gold enables the American people to have freedom. And one of our first Marxist, anti-American, in my opinion, presidents, Roosevelt, made owning gold illegal. So that's another, anytime a government tries to take away your ability to control your financial independence and freedom, you know that they're the enemy of the people. All right. So Woodrow Wilson was the first trader that we had. He signed that Federal Reserve Act into existence, and that's what spawned the 16th Amendment. That's what spawned the ability for the government to basically treat us all as if we're corporations instead of free people. And that's how they're able to do it. Profit derived from capital is what income taxes are. Well, income is profit derived from capital. Your wages are not capital. Try to tell the IRS that and watch yourself get thrown in federal prison. So the first step in abolishing this fiat currency system is to get rid of the Federal Reserve. How do you do that? You do it with tariffs. And again, up until 1913, our entire economic system, we didn't have an income tax. We had tariffs. And we had unprecedented economic prosperity. Bankers don't like that. Bankers don't want the American people to have economic prosperity. They want to put you into debt slavery. And that's all the Federal Reserve Bank is. It is a debt slavery system. Make no mistake about it. Crypto and Ethereum, at least right now, are giving you guys a chance, in my opinion, this is my humble opinion, until they stabilize and become accepted assets, they're going to be volatile. So if the political climate changes, your crypto will become worthless. Like if a Liz Warren gets into power, your Bitcoin's going to get regulated by one of her Marxist regulators, and it's over. So what can you do? Well, here's my play. My play: seeds are more valuable than gold. Well, I'm with that poor dirt farmer, and I think a close second is ammo. And all you need is a couple AR platforms and some Glocks and maybe 20, 30,000 rounds of ammo, seeds, bug out. I'm with you, bro. And non-perishable food. So I'm with you on all that stuff. But I'm saying if we are able to keep our power grid intact, which is also, we know that communist Chinese have infiltrated our power grid and the government has done nothing to strengthen it. So we got problems there. But I don't want to get too far off base. Cryptocurrency like Ethereum. And I think that Ethereum's the play now. I'm all out of Bitcoin ETFs and going into Ethereum. BMNR, I think it's called ETFHT, EHTFT. Well, it's one of those. Anyways, I believe that the play, at least for me, is buy at the dip, sell at the top, head on down to your freaking gold store, buy as much gold and silver as you can get your hands on. And I believe in small, even if it's junk silver. I believe that that's going to be the trade of the future. I believe that when the economic system crashes, which it will, that's how you're going to be able to stay alive and feed your family. So good seeing you, Hoop. XRPX, I just sold some last night. I'm just not big on it right now. I think that the play is Ethereum right now. Now, I think that because of what just happened with the CPI, that XRPX is going to go up. So I think that all the cryptos and altcoins are going to go through the roof, but don't think it's going to last forever, guys, because it's not. What's going to happen is we're going to get a rate cut. People are going to get what they call FOMO, fear of missing out. People are going to start buying a lot of crypto. It's going to dip hard. And then ultimately the economy is going to crash. What you got to understand is that people can't afford to pay their credit cards anymore because of the outrageous interest rates. So people aren't paying it. People are going bankrupt. The housing market is insane. Take a look in Nevada at the housing. There have been houses that have been on the market for 80 days and they've dropped the prices $50,000. So this is all just smoke and mirrors. So use this as an opportunity. If it was me, I would use this as an opportunity to get into physical gold and silver as much as you can and get out of the fiat currency system completely. Now, with Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm never going to sell it. I'll deal with ETFs to make my gains, but I'll never sell my Bitcoin or Ethereum because you can see if you look on a chart, you bought Bitcoin when it was 50 cents, and now it's worth 120 grand a coin. So even if you just buy like 0.0001% Bitcoin, if you spend $200 on Bitcoin today, When it goes up to 150,000, now you've got like what, $500 worth or whatever it is. I'm not a mathematician. But anyways, guys, hopefully you understand a little bit about the history of our economic system, the evil Federal Reserve banking system, and you're part of Team MPE. Anybody who wants to donate to the channel, I recommend that you do it over at Rumble. Give me a super chat over there. They call it something different. And if you want to learn about how to become a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad, what you can do is you can go to my profile on YouTube. For 20 bucks, you can buy my ebook. I'm in the process of rewriting a better version of it. So it'll take about a month for me to get your copy out, but buy it now and I'll send you two. And share them with a friend, even if you don't want to learn about the ins of court system and how to become a lawyer the old fashioned way. We'll be in a position where I can teach you guys. That's right, Patty J 9999. Be very afraid. So, anyways, guys, I do appreciate y'all joining me. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. We know that social media and the far left Marxists hate me, and they hate the idea of economic independence from the government. So be vigilant, stuck up on ammo, make sure you keep your powder dry, make sure you have a couple cleaning kits, make sure you have as much gold and silver as you can get your hands on. Semper Fi, do or die. Take care.